Strategic Command Navy Admiral is warning. Admiral Charles Richard, commander of U.S. Strategic Command, said this week at a conference, the big one, quote, is coming, referring to the Taiwanese invasion, the invasion by China to topple Taiwan, which I've been saying for some time now, of course, is absolutely imminent. This is a Wall Street Journal report. Again, this is Navy Admiral Charles Richard, commander of U.S. Strategic Command, said this week at a conference that the big one is coming and it isn't going to be very long before we're going to be tested in ways that we haven't been tested for a very long time. So these are not my words. These, of course, are Navy admirals. And he went on to say that the United States lacks really any kind of asymmetric advantage currently in the World War III event that's currently playing out with fourth generation warfare outside of nuclear submarines. He says we need to manufacture more of them, at least several more a year. Now, it's quite interesting. Here in Maui, we actually had one of our nuclear subs. I could see it off the coastline pop up in and around Halloween with one of our large destroyers. So we do have a strategic advantage when it comes to U.S. subs, but that's about it. Now, others, of course, I've mentioned this for some time, like Eric Schmidt, who I've spoken with on occasion and interviewed, has said things like the U.S. is losing its strategic edge when it comes to artificial intelligence. When it comes to the AI and the artificial intelligence wars that are now being fought in nanoseconds. So think about this for a minute. Nuclear warfare is now being fought in nanoseconds. And actually, this is what I think happened in Hawaii not too long ago, several years ago, with that ICBM alert that went on everyone's text messages on the SMSs. I remember my dad sending it to me, said, you know, put your kids down storm drains, that the big one was coming. But what I'm going to talk about today is strategically what's going on in the world geopolitically, because it's not what you think. It's not what many of you think. The story has already been written for much of the Pacific. And this is a factor that many of you strategically have not taken into account. Now, I first shared this with you 5, 6, 7 years ago after I was traveling in Asia, and I realized that everything America had sold me was a lie, at least when it came to geopolitics and China. You know, if you visit places like Singapore, for example, you'll see how technologically advanced that super state city is. Not just with the cargo ships, with its restaurants, with its infrastructure, its engineering, its payment systems, all have been fully integrated into blockchain technology, by the way, already, but also with its military might. Now, although it's not perfect, and of course I'm an American, I love America, I love our Constitution and our freedom, you do see, conversely, some of the advantages of those countries and how they've already pivoted away from Western supremacy and power. This is why our cities, of course, in the United States of America have absolutely collapsed. If you go to Detroit, if you go to Chicago, not only is there violence and civil unrest, and you see in other major cities across the United States, the subway systems are absolutely disgusting. In places like San Francisco, they're actually giving drugs to homeless people and giving opiates to them. I mean, it's so insane at this point that U.S. officials are actually encouraging the destruction of the state itself. But what a lot of you are not aware of is this strategic move and pivot. You can hear the rooster behind me. I got a really testy rooster here on property. I'm gonna get one of those little pellet things later. That's what my wife was saying, at least. But all of this has strategically been put in place already. So for example, let's talk about one of my favorite individuals, Joel Skousen, who has very famously written the book Strategic Relocation, which I recommend you read. He had never taken into account a global worldwide shutdown. In fact, he used to recommend places like Canada as being a strategic relocation place to go to, which was probably the worst advice. Now, that's not a knock on Joel. He gives really good advice, but he wasn't taking into account a total global power shift into this new system. He was thinking that there would still be pockets and bastions of freedom. So we did learn some of this in this little test phase that we've been in over the last couple of years. For example, certain states in the United States did a lot better, like my home state of Arizona, the great state of Texas, shout out to you in Texas, places like Florida, Governor DeSantis, etc., you know, creating more of a sense of normalcy during a total shutdown. Now, by the way, we still have not gotten out of that. If you are a non-US citizen, you're still not allowed to come into the United States. They still have that in practice even 3 years later. But let's get back to the crux of the matter today. Admiral Richard, he's from the U.S. Strategic Command, noted that America retains A small advantage in submarines, quote, may be the only true asymmetric advantage we still have, but even that may erode unless America picks up the pace getting our maintenance problems fixed, getting new construction going. Building what he says 3 Virginia-class fast attack submarines a year would be a good place to start. So also, the news last year that China tested a hypersonic missile, I'm not sure if you remember this, that flew around the world and landed at home should have raised more alarms than it did. So in terms of ICBMs, China is far superior than the United States as well. They also have a larger Navy at this point. So we're at this point now where I would argue that the Western Empire, and this is all by design, has already shifted and collapsed. In fact, Paul Craig Roberts, I like to read some of his research reports, came out with an article within the last week or two. He said America has already been taken over. And I actually agree with him. You know, if we've lost all of our rights and all of our civil liberties in the Constitution, and Fortune 100 companies dictate speech and all these kinds of things, we've already lost everything that America is. You see, America is an idea and its constitutional principles: freedom of movement, bodily autonomy, the right to work, the right to provide for your family, the right to congregate at a church. All of these things were taken away and have been taken away here in the United States of America, a death by 1,000 cuts. And they've steamrolled through all of this now. I had warned about this for years. I said, don't let them go an inch, because if you let them go an inch, they'll go a mile. There was also a very interesting report, and this is the Wall Street Journal, ladies and gentlemen, and this is one of our highest level U.S. admirals calling for the invasion of Taiwan by China very soon. He also says China has a superior asymmetric advantage in all areas of war now. So artificial intelligence, we have somewhat of an advantage with submarines, he says, but that's pretty much it. Artificial intelligence, military intelligence, and of course the Chinese, they're not a free republic like the United States once was, so they have control over their populations and they can dictate. They also have more people, so keep that in mind as well. There's far more people that they can put to work to fight with any kind of on-the-ground type wars. Also want to talk about a very interesting article today. Lebanon has, of course, collapsed since its civil war and is experiencing hyperinflation. And the Lebanese people, there was an article on CNBC, now, because the banking system has absolutely failed and it's holding on to people's funds and their accounts, which I think is going to happen in the Western world as well, and here in America at some point in the future. The warning sign was that they started charging you for your withdrawals. So they would take a couple percentage points out of each withdrawal that you made from a Lebanese bank. That was the early warning sign. Now it's like an 85% haircut of whatever you had originally deposited. So hyperinflation has taken root in Lebanon, hundreds of percentage points monthly, okay, where the value of its base currency has declined to such an extent where it has no value. So what was interesting about this CNBC article, it was talking about how the citizenry, where a lot of people have moved into poverty as a result of the banking system itself, which banks are always responsible for collapsing countries. Central banks and their policies of bailouts and interest rates, of course, cause all this, but they're now turning to cryptocurrencies. And in fact, the Lebanese people, I was reading about one gentleman's making over $20,000 a month mining things like Bitcoin, one of the few things he can do, and then storing his wealth in non-sovereign assets like Bitcoin, and then using stable coins like US dollar tether, which is a stable back coin like USDC, to trade back and forth with other Lebanese. So we can kind of look at this as like a small microcosm event of what it looks like when countries begin to collapse and when they begin to go down. Now, of course, I did warn that major hedge fund manager on Wall Street, Elliott, which is one of the best hedge funds in the world. They've made money every single year over the last 45 years except for 2. They are warning of societal, quote, breakdown, civil unrest, hyperinflation, collapse here in the United States of America. They say, don't think just because you've been through 2008-09 and you've been through 2020 in the tech bust that you've seen anything yet. You've seen nothing yet. These are the smartest people in the world calling for societal breakdown, hyperinflation, and civil unrest, which I think we're going to get. I mean, I wish I was wrong about this, but we are watching the end of the empire. And I hate to say this, but nothing that happens with the midterms, even an overwhelming Republican win, is going to change anything about the geopolitical makeup and shift that's already transpired. All this has already happened. It doesn't matter who gets in power, Democrat or Republican at this point. The geopolitical shakeup has already occurred. Okay, so we have already hit the apex point, which is the equivalent of Japan coming in and bombing Pearl Harbor. We're already past that now. All the logistics and the framework of all of this has already transpired. And the hard truth, I don't tell you guys necessarily what you want to hear or what you like to hear. I'm just telling you the truth. The hardcore truth is that the future is not about the West at all. The future is about Asia. It's about some African countries and also their companies. And it's about the Middle East. That is really where the pivot is. I mean, we can see this even in popular sports. Look at all the golfers that went over to the Saudi family-backed tournament equivalent. I don't follow golf that much. The future is not the United States. The future is not Europe. Europe is an intentionally failed designed system called the Eurozone that they created so that it would fail, so that they create the problem, Hegelian, in nature, and then give the solution to the failed system. And so that was the start, really, the Eurozone and the European Union and their single euro currency, which has collapsed, basically, and absolutely failed. That's why there was the Brexit. That's why the UK wanted to get out, et cetera, the Bank of England, because all of it's a failure. That was really the start of the loss of sovereignty, of independent sovereign countries with their own culture, their own money systems, their own pride, I would say, in a lot of regards. And so that is really the Petri dish experiment for the implosion of the West. And so now we're building up this world with Greta Thunberg and all these other people. How dare you? How dare you, she says. That was the test ground to later integrate Western society into this whole system, which they've successfully done. So what I want you to think about this video is strategically, you kind of be a little bit cynical here. A lot of people, especially in America and the westernized world, they're very concerned about all the problems. There's a lot of anger. There's feeling of hopelessness. And they've done that intentionally. They want you hopeless. They want you dependent. They want the nanny state to take care of you. Instead of thinking that way, I would think about it, what is your advantage? How can you take advantage in this environment? How can you prosper? How can you ride the wave? So let me give you an example. The midterms. For those of you that think that the midterms are going to save you, and you're wrong about that, that's the equivalent of trying to swim into a current. Okay, that's like the tidal wave's coming. It's 200-foot cliff. Okay, and it's coming towards your face, and you're going towards it. That ain't going to work out. The wave has already shifted. What you need to be doing is paddling into the wave. You need to be paddling into the current and understanding by design where all this is headed. So in my mind, at least, China has already invaded Taiwan. China already has Taiwan, just like they have Hong Kong. Just like the Pacific has already been largely reorganized by all these new interests. And this is what Americans don't understand. They're always 10 years behind the curve. See, I warned about the current state of affairs 15 years ago. I told you that we would be here, that our freedoms would be eroded. It would be a death by 1,000 cuts. They would eviscerate basically the entire Constitution and the Bill of Rights, which they've done. You wouldn't be able to travel. You wouldn't be able to leave your house. You wouldn't be able to go to church. You wouldn't be able to have a job. And then later, all that happened, right? Non-essentials versus essentials, can't travel. You still can't come into the United States if you're a non-U.S. citizen. They still have that policy in place. So we are really like the least free of the countries, I would almost suggest, in the world today, in my humble opinion. No different from what's going on anywhere else in the world. So we really see this concrete, transformative shift of the Western Empire into the new system. And this is what I believe that the Admiral General here is warning about in the Wall Street Journal opinion piece today. He says the big one is coming and the U.S. military isn't ready. A U.S. flag officer talks candidly about the fading U.S. deterrent. And Russia's invasion of Ukraine, he says, just reveals the fading power of America's military deterrent, a fact that too few of our leaders seem willing to admit to the public. So again, these are our highest level admirals telling you this. For those of you like, Christopher, why are you so negative? Well, because I'm smart. I just understand reality and I understand the pivot of where things are going. I understand when an empire's collapsed. I understand when they've clipped our currency and they've degraded morality in society and they've degraded the family and they've destroyed our culture, just like we've seen other cultures and societies degraded and destroyed over time. We've seen this throughout the history of all civilizations in their rise and fall. Nothing has changed in millions and millions of years. This is just a part of the reality that we live. So I encourage you to read that article. Again, that's Admiral Richard of U.S. Strategic Command. He is Charles Richard is his name. Go look him up. In fact, why don't we do that right now? Again, these are the smartest, most powerful people in our Navy and military, basically just saying that America has declined and that it's over and we've lost our strategic advantage when it comes to U.S. capability for deterrence. So the rest of the world, let's be honest, they don't respect the United States anymore. They don't respect Joe Biden. This is why the Saudi royal family had snubbed him. Saudi Arabia supposedly used to be a U.S. ally, but they're obviously not anymore. So they've completely pivoted away from us. They are working with China and Russia. China's fully endorsing Russia. Let's talk about what's going on in the battlefield. This was quite interesting, actually. While Ukraine is allegedly sitting in darkness and they have no electricity, Zelensky is actually finding time to shoot a Netflix show. This is kind of crazy. Let me show you this. Here he is. There's cameras rolling everywhere. He's in a subway system with professional cameras. And here, I'm looking for him real quick. There he is. With Ukraine fully out of power, I don't know if you can see this, Zelensky is actually shooting a new Netflix special because this is all Hollywood land. Okay, him and his wife posing in Vogue magazine, taking their time to, he was visiting the Oscars when they took place. Supposedly we're going through this dramatic altercation in Ukraine, but this dude, he's chilling on a Netflix show. I mean, it just goes to show you the absolute, just kind of hysterical nature of really where we currently sit today. So look at Lebanon as a microcosm for what's coming here to the United States. Of course, bank runs, capital controls, withdrawal limits. You're not going to be able to move your money outside of the U.S. banking system at some point very near in the future. Look at it as a microcosm for hyperinflation. Real inflation rates in the United States are 20+%. Those are the shadow stats. Even if you're looking at it from what they're telling you, they'll say it's 7.5%. That means every, 9 years you're losing half of your net worth. And every 18 years, you've lost everything. So inflation is an insidious tax of which the central banks and the elites have constructed because it's a way for them to monetize the debt that they can never pay back. U.S. interest payments in the coming years, very, very soon, will exceed the actual federal budget for the Defense Department, just on the interest. So if they hold rates at 4% for longer than the next 3 years, all of our civilization here in the West will completely collapse. This is why I'm so confident that I know that the central banks will stop at a 4 or 5% rate hike, then backtrack, then blame a war or blame some other kind of collapse somewhere for more bailouts and more manipulation, and then eventually pivoting and easing. So again, just like the central bank lied about transitory inflation, they're lying now about not pivoting. They're absolutely pivoting. They're going to stop the rate hikes, and they're going to blame some kind of external event, probably the invasion of Taiwan or something like it, like the U.S. Strategic Command Admiral here of the Navy is warning about. And that'll be the reason why the central bank has to balk, print more currency, continue to monetize, etc. Now, of course, the eventual model here is just to reset everything into digital currencies, whether or not this is the United Kingdom or the United States or it's Canada or it's Australia. It's to move into U.S. dollars or digital dollar equivalents of which they'll have control, similarly to what they had with fiat currencies. They'll be able to look under the hood. They'll basically be able to manage all of that. And they'll have even more oversight than they did before as they eradicate cash out of the system. Very few people are even hold cash anymore. I actually do. I like to test it. I'll give $100 bills out certain businesses to see if they'll accept it, and very few do. In fact, there's many places even here on island, they've gone completely cashless. I've even been at bars before where I had a couple $100 on me and I'm trying to give someone like $100 to buy a friend of mine a drink or something like that, and they won't accept it. I mean, we're at that point now. So you're going to see this roll out. And again, this is what you guys need to understand. The whole Pacific has already been remodeled. Very few of you actually realize this. Most Americans are a decade behind what has actually happened. The tidal wave's already come. Everything they logistically needed to set up for the World War III event has already been accomplished. Now we're just witnessing some of the final moves. Taking of Taiwan, strategic economic financial reset, create a little more political turmoil and chaos in the midterms and the upcoming elections, indict Trump, have him run again, use DeSantis as another obfuscation point, bring him into the mix. And by the way, DeSantis, who I like the things he's said and done, he's a Yale guy. You know where Skull and Bones and 322 and all those, secretive organizations actually are? There's 3 of them, by the way. And I believe he was a member of one of them, Yale. So if you think he's any different, he's not. None of these people are. They're all in the same club, just like the famous comedian once told us, who I'm forgetting his name at the time, George Carlin. It's one big club and you ain't in it. DeSantis is in the same club. He went to Yale. He's a part of that same fraternity. I even understand how this works, having gone to college on the East Coast. It's one big club. I lived in Washington, D.C. I saw the club firsthand. It's one big giant club and you ain't in it. And that's just how it works. And the people in power dictate all of these policies. They dictate the monetary policy, the fiscal policy. They dictate whether or not you can travel into the country. You're still not allowed to if you're not a non-U.S. citizen and you don't obey. They dictate whether or not you're allowed to congregate. They dictate whether or not you're allowed to breathe. They dictate everything. So it's rules for you and not thee. That's just how it rolls here in America. Everything's an illusion. The whole thing has been an illusion from day one. My goal is to get you guys outside of that illusion so you actually understand the truth and you're proactive in finding solutions and bettering your life. So, for example, knowing all of this does nothing unless you take absolute amazing advantage of it. You should profit from it. And I tell you guys this all the time. It's a little bit of a cynical look, but instead of looking at society and just being depressed about it, look at it and realize that people are going to fall into all these traps. And then if you're smarter than the masses, you can actually succeed in this environment at 1000x level. So let me go to some motivation here today. I put out a quote that I was just thinking of. This is my quote. I said, everything is a product of your mind, your reality, your income, your relationships. Simply with a thought, you can will your destiny. Simply with thinking, you can will your destiny. The famous Roman emperor, I think he was the last of them, who was actually a good one, Marcus Aurelius, was a Stoic. And so for those of you that have studied Stoicism, it's quite an interesting life philosophy, but it basically talks about some of the same principles I talk about a lot, that you're all a product of your mindset. And every thought actually creates your reality. It creates everything. So life happens, crap happens, obstacles get in your life, but it's really how you handle those obstacles and it's what you think about them. And I've always viewed as a businessman, as an entrepreneur and a risk taker, that every obstacle, every impediment has actually the seedling of an advantage because it tells me, and I've learned this in business and life, it tells me where the issues lie that you need to conquer to actually get to where you want to go in life. So a lot of you, American society has been conditioned to be obedient. It's been conditioned to live in fear. So let's give an example of this, like Hollywood and the film industry and the movie industry and stuff, the way they portray like a business owner or entrepreneurship, or even what it is to be an American is all lies. Think of like the show Sex and the City. All the girls get together, and they're living in New York and everything's just fantastic there. That's not how reality is at all. The reality is an entrepreneur and a business owner and somebody that, goes out there and invents stuff and creates things and finds solutions is you're actually dealing with a lot of chaos day to day. And a true professional manages that chaos and actually accomplishes and overcomes basically all of the impediments and obstacles that stand in the way to achieve great things. So everything that's portrayed in the media and even schooling, schooling sanitizes, the educational system sanitizes this idea of what your life's supposed to be like after you graduate. It's nothing like that at all. Hardcore reality is you've got to get really dirty. You got to be willing to work your ass off every single day. You've got to be willing to do the things that other people are unwilling to do. You got to be thinking outside of the box. You've got to be catching major trends, and that would be some of my major advice, is catch major trends ahead of everyone else. So what's the major trend right now? Collapse of Western civilization, collapse of the Western Empire. Look how technology has completely ratified, so to speak, and destroyed the old models, systems of government, society, civilization, and even interpersonal relationships and how people interact with each other. That's a permanent shift. So if you're not taking advantage of that, you're completely missing the boat. And again, whether we like it or not, and I'm not saying I like all this, like I don't like that America's collapsed. I don't like that we don't have our Constitution anymore. We don't have our Bill of Rights. That sucks. Okay, but the reality is the future is not America. The future is Asia, it's African nation states, it's Saudi Arabia, and we see the pivot already happening now. And this is why westernized culture and society, and this has been a takeover from the inside. I've been warning about this for years. It's an internal takeover. This is why they have policies like they give out drugs to homeless people in San Francisco. They want the society to collapse. This is why they've destroyed the families, and they don't like the nuclear family. They want everybody working in a hyperinflationary environment where you can't afford anything. And then they want you on universal basic income. I mean, this is a part of the design. These are all the things that they've constructed to build this system, to weaponize it into the new control infrastructure. And as I've said many times before, and I've been on the forefront of this for like 15, 16 years, this is very much a fourth, fifth generation style type warfare event. So all the major accomplishment objectives of a world war are being accomplished without really a lot of the battles on the ground because they don't need them. The elites got much, much smarter. They realized through cell phones, AI, technology, and really controls of all the media and the corporations are all on the same team. Through those controls, they can basically implement and dictate and reorder and resystematize all of our society without any fight at all. And we haven't gotten any fight at all. And people just have accepted everything that's happened. So we're at the point now you can lie to yourself, okay, and you can do a big header straight into a tidal wave, which ain't gonna work out, where you can grab your freaking surfboard along with all of you at the club and all these other places, and you can ride that thing. And you can hang 10 and surf your little toes out front. You're gonna have to take care of yourself is what I'm saying. No government, certainly this one here in the United States, which has turned to crap, is gonna do anything for you. They can't even maintain our infrastructure. Our roads are declining, our cities are collapsing, the subways are dirty. I mean, what progress have we seen at all? Zero. We've seen a lack of progress. And this is the truth. So if you're young, I'd even give you this advice. You need to internationalize yourself now. And even those of you that are older, internationalize yourself. Also, I just wanted to kind of go over some financial truths today. I was reading a report I thought quite interesting. Warren Buffett, the king of bailouts, bailout king himself, Mr. Warren Buffett. He's, billion-dollar bailout king. Remember when Obama crowned him? And then he was given billions of taxpayer bailouts for his failed, bankrupt, zero, destitute, absolutely corrupted companies like Goldman Sachs and American Express that went, straight in the toilet in 2009 and ripped everybody off. Those are facts. He only actually owns 5 major positions in his entire equity portfolio. Okay, so he's still a smart investor. I'll give him that. Don't like him as an individual at all, but he owns only 5 real stocks and equity positions, which proves the point. Only broke and poor people diversify. Notice how you hear this all the time? Well, you really want to diversify, Bob. Yeah, you really want to form that portfolio of like 15 positions. No, you don't. All the elites concentrate. The wealthy concentrate their positions with 100% conviction bets. That's how you get rich. Broke people and poor people diversify. The rich concentrate with huge conviction, 100% conviction bets in place. And just like Buffett, they limit it to 5 major positions. So what does he own? He owns like Apple stock and, I don't got the whole list in front of me, but basically there's only 5 positions that he owns. So you need to understand this. When you're creating wealth, go all in. Have 100% conviction. You always want concentrated positions to create wealth. Once you've created the wealth, you then begin to diversify. Also, I want to give an alert to our crypto community out there, everyone at the islandprojectclub.com. Make sure you get in, links below and here. I'll add in a minute, and I'll read some of your names. Our 2 picks. I had 2 big metaverse plays that I listed in the last video just a couple days ago, and they're both up over 20%. Last time I checked, we've seen huge moves in those metaverse plays. That was coming off the 100% gain on the Dogecoin pick, which I told you all bluntly, and I still believe this, that Elon Musk's Twitter acquisition is the marker for the beginning of the new secular bull market. And it's the end of the bear, which it's proven so far to be absolutely the case, as we've seen cryptocurrency and blockchain completely rally after the acquisition. Now keep in mind, Elon Musk, the richest person on the world allegedly, hasn't even announced his blockchain and crypto integrations yet. So this is a huge blockchain guy. Elon Musk, I would argue him and the PayPal mafia actually, invented much of the technology as Satoshi. These are the guys that are going to be implementing the ecosystem into Twitter, the Dogecoin and the other ecosystem coins, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and whatever else he decides to add into Twitter. So I still believe this. He's underpaid for Twitter. People say he's overpaid. He's underpaid. Now he's taking the company private. He's going to charge everyone $8 a month. People are going to pay it. He's going to rake in billions and billions of dollars of more money. He's going to take that AI consciousness hive mind code that he needed, which is why he bought it. He's going to plug it into all the other ecosystem companies like SpaceX, etc., Neuralink, and then all that's going to have backdoors to the deep state, the Pentagon, and the US government, which is how it always works, just like the internet does today. You've got Fortune 100 at the front. These guys are the faces. They buy the politicians and the lobbyists, and then they backdoor everything to state officials, the governments themselves. Just like Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook admitted that the FBI approached him regarding Joe Biden's son's laptop, and he was basically told to obfuscate all that information from the platform. So he basically just took it all away. That's just how it works. Same thing with Amazon. Its first profitable turn came from Central Intelligence Agency cloud contracts in a few $100 million. You can go look this up. I mean, I'll do it for you guys if you want. Amazon CIA. So that's the real reason why Elon Musk has made the purchase. Yeah, here it is. This is the Atlantic. The details about the CIA deal with Amazon. This is actually what really turned the first profit for Jeff Bezos and Amazon, which is the monopoly today as we know it. Also, Nike, another traitorous Fortune 100 company, which encourages kneeling here in the United States of America, has cut their contract with Kyrie Irving because they do not believe in free speech. All these companies dislike freedom. They dislike free speech. They want you kneeling and cowering. And they just disagree with anyone that loves the Constitution and freedom. So someone even told me that Under Armour had even cut someone off too because they went hunting or something like that. So every Fortune 100 company, especially Nike, they're just dirt, in my opinion. They're absolutely dirt. They have zero respect for freedom of speech. And even if they disagree with certain things, I mean, it just shows their clear lack gall that they would have. Kyrie Irving, I don't know a lot about him, but I just do know that he stood his ground on a lot of major issues. And I really admire that. Right or wrong, when you stand your ground, that's a real man. And real men just have to continue to step up. There's very few real men. The balls have shriveled in the United States. Most men have completely metastasized into just these beta males and complainers drinking their frappuccinos every day. And America's grown weak. It's grown very, very weak. There's no communities. There's no nuclear family. And that's why they're able to roll everyone over right now. There's no infrastructure. This is why I spend all my time now and all my personal investments building infrastructure. Also, I want to alert all of you to the Island Project Club. For those of you that just joined, I put together a new booking system. So I'm going to send you all an email today. All of you that are members to islandprojectclub.com, that's islandprojectclub.com. Become a private member today. You can book a 15, 30-minute phone call with me, consult. Ask me anything about your portfolio, my 1000X picks, anything that you want to know about blockchain, crypto, how to pivot and all this madness, how to protect yourself from the capital controls and bank runs that we're seeing implemented worldwide. Like I just cited the example of Lebanon completely having collapsed and hyperinflation and the banks having closed and actually stealing up to 85% of the deposits that were originally on deposit prior to 2020. How people have had to now turn to Bitcoin and non-sovereign assets. Someone even gave me kind of so my point is I have a booking system now. I'm going to send you all an email today and you can book an appointment with me. Okay, and then that'll come into my calendar system. So by registering at islandprojectclub.com here, or down here, you can book with me. And we can have that conversation. So, yeah, I mean, this is just the general direction of where things are headed. I want to see if I've missed anything today, but it's a complete pivot to the east. It is a complete move away from the west. The U.S. Strategic Command Admiral is 100% correct in his assessment. The U.S. lacks any clear asymmetric advantage during this World War III event at all. We've absolutely declined. And the new war, which is being fought through AI technologies, computers, and algorithms, is being led by China. This is why Eric Schmidt has been warning about this. It's why our admirals like this guy's warning about it. It's why I've been warning about it. And, name me anything that America actually, like, go down the list of the Bill of Rights and tell me one thing America still has. Because I've checked off every single one. I'll go through it sometimes. I'll be like, yeah, don't have that anymore. Don't have that anymore. Don't have that anymore. Don't have that anymore. You should read this article by Paul Craig Roberts on his website where he just basically says, yeah, America's already been taken over because all of the things that we value are gone. So again, it's not like you need a full-blown ground war. If everything's already been eroded, taken away, Fortune 100 companies don't respect your freedom of speech, and they're the new utilities, which they're not being regulated at all. This is like Standard Oil or Big Oil not being regulated. These things need to be regulated. If you're not allowed to talk, and that's the only place to talk, and that's the only place where free speech is, then that's a problem, because that's a direct violation of all of our constitutional rights and civil liberties to speak our mind and freedom, even if you disagree with it. But again, if you look at Fortune 100, they're all disproportionately working against all of those civil liberties. Like, name me one company on Team Freedom, one Fortune 100 company that's not woke. Every single last one of them is woke. So, I mean, I kind of like Elon Musk's very snarky Twitter reply that he's been putting out there, which is anyone that complains to him, he's just like, $8, $8. That's like the new learn to code meme. You know, anyone that complains, he just says $8. So, beginning of the bull run, massive, massive opportunity and disruption. Look at it cynically, right? We know that most of the masses are stupid. And I mean, I say that, I'm trying to say that with a loving heart, but most of the masses are stupid, okay? And they're basically just gonna go along with everything. So look at it and understand that truth, and then understand how you can pivot and be smarter than the rest of the pack. Even Robert Kiyosaki was talking about this yesterday. I think he was talking about his late rich dad. He had a rich dad and a poor dad. He says, rich dad wouldn't play the blame game. Wouldn't say, blame a politician or blame the media or blame a Fortune 100 company. Just like all the Twitter employees being fired. They're just blaming, other people for their problems. Well, that's just being lame, is what he says his rich dad would say. Figured out how to profit from the situation. That's what you guys need to be doing. And, I talk about cash flows. I talk about building your businesses up, because that's actually where most of you are struggling. Most of the feedback that I get from people I know online here, our amazing community, but even in my real life, it's mostly people struggling with finances, struggling with inflation, and struggling with cash flows. They don't know how to create them. They don't know how to create wealth, preserve their wealth. They don't know how to start a new business. They don't know how to engage in this new wave of technology. They know nothing about blockchain. They know nothing about decentralization. They know nothing about storing their private wealth in a private wallet. They know nothing about crypto. So that's really where people are disadvantaged, and that's what you need to learn. So as global governments sift through all this and they collapse sovereignty and collapse westernized society and move it into the new system, that's where the opportunities are. So I just encourage you, remain positive, and you are a byproduct of your thoughts. Every thought dictates your reality, your relationships, your income level, everything that you're putting out into the world. So put out positivity and realize you're the commander of your own ship. Let other people gossip about you. Let other people talk about you. Let other people criticize you. Be so focused on your goals and accomplishing your mission, whatever that is, 1000x, and allow them to consume the energy you're deploying. Did you hear what I said? Let other people talk about you, gossip about you, criticize you, do all these things. I mean, look at social media. It's kind of a crazy place. Let them be so consumed by the energy you're deploying, because you're so hyper-focused on accomplishing your own goals in life that the only thing they can do, because they don't have their own goals, is to talk about you. So let them feed off and consume that energy, and realize that there is truth to this. Being the man in the arena. It's easy to talk crap. It's easy to criticize or have a different opinion, and all that's welcome. That's what a free-thinking society is. However, it's the man or woman in the arena who's the real baller. It's the one actually doing cool stuff. Now, I'll also leave you just with some advice, too, for physical fitness today. How to get in the best shape of your life. I'm in the best shape of my life that I've ever been in 41 years. And people ask me, what have I done, what I do to maintain that lifestyle? And it's a very simple answer. Keep your body in motion every single day. You've got to keep your mind in motion. You've got to keep your body in motion and your physicality in motion. So the best advice I could give is keep your body in motion. Walk, swim, stretch, and look at it incrementally in incremental steps. So for example, even if you're just doing like 10 minutes a day of mobility training, that's beneficial. Don't look at it like you got to go to the gym and work out for an hour. Go out for a 5-minute walk, 10-minute walk. Do some mobility training for 15 minutes. Stretch for 5. Little daily actions by keeping your body not at rest but in motion is how over time you build things, okay? And you build long-term value and a foundation to where you actually want to go. In business with your cash flows, if you're building your cash flows up, start with how do you make your first $1,000? Learn at the club. Learn how to earn staking rewards. While you get 0 at a bank, or whatever it is today, how much does a bank pay now that we've got Fed funds rate at 4%? Still near 0. Real inflation rates are at 20, so you're actually losing money negatively. How do you stake? How do you earn cash flows? You can learn, for example, how to trade crypto, how to take advantage of swing trading opportunities and double your money. In fact, there's people all over the world. I put in a couple trades, executed them over the last week. They've been very profitable. Made $50,000 on Dogecoin. Probably should have made more, but I, stick to my specific system. And we are up double-digit gains in my 2 metaverse picks as well that I put out 2 days ago at the club. My question is, for those of you that aren't doing anything, what are you doing? What are you learning something new? When's the last time you learned something new? So be optimistic, understand where the world is headed, understand that this Navy Admiral is absolutely correct in what he's saying. This is the most dangerous time in westernized society that it's ever been. This is far worse than the Cold War. This is far worse than that. North Korea, as we're seeing, by the way, North Korea just launched 5 more missiles today on Saturday. So they're growing more confident as the U.S. becomes weaker. So understand the midterms actually makes the U.S. weaker. Like all this chaos and this political chaos makes the U.S. weaker. I would even argue to a certain extent the 4-year term thing probably even needs to be changed. Like how can anybody get anything done in 4 years? When you're in and out in 4 years, you can't accomplish anything. Like could you imagine running a company for just 4 years? It'd be very difficult to accomplish any kind of real success with a 4-year stint, and that's it. So maybe even that needs to be changed. I don't know. I'm throwing it out there. I think of it from an entrepreneurial perspective because a lot of the big gains come after like 10 years of the incremental steps that you've put in place in your own life, businesses, cash flows, investments, etc. They don't come overnight. So how does the leader of a country who's just a face and a pawn do anything when they're only there for 4 years? They're in and they're out. Like look at Trump. He gets in, he's immediately shuttered out. And now he's being indicted. So it's like none of that worked. So if you think that that's going to work again, just because Republicans take the House or the Senate or DeSantis gets in or whatever, you're really ignorant. All this has already transpired. What is a guy like DeSantis or Trump even going to do at this point when the whole rest of the world has already shifted to the new policies? It's already been reorganized. By the time they get in, China will already be conquered. Taiwan. So it already is. What do you think they've been doing shoring up Hong Kong and all this stuff? Why do you think the Pope, as I reported to you, took all of the Vatican's assets October 1st and put it under its own sovereign accounts and completely got out of the banking systems because they're expecting banking system collapses worldwide. Benjamin Netanyahu, of course, is now the leader of Israel. So we have that shaking up. That's a big, I think, kind of thing playing into prophecy. So it's highly likely that Trump will also be in there with Netanyahu. Again, they're building up the new temple right now. So we see that. So that's about all I have for today. I can go to some questions now. Hey, Hi Most. Hey, Jason Tricity, what is up? And let me go to some shout outs here and some of your names, and then I'll go to some questions here in a minute. That was an interesting report I put out yesterday about the killer asteroid, wasn't it? That NASA said that they missed, but now was hiding behind the sun, I think, and Venus and the Earth. Okay, let me go here to the club. And by the way, again, just as a reminder, all of you new members that register today, so register today, click that link below, up here or down here, I'll add here in a minute. Go to islandprojectclub.com, get in with the $1,500 minimum. I'm gonna send you guys an email this afternoon so you can book, and all of you that have gotten in the last few weeks, so you can book the appointment with me. I've got a calendar system. You'll be able to digitally book your appointment and then set that up. That's a better way to organize my time, so I have my team do that so that we can get a little bit more organized here with everything that we are doing. So let me go to recent club members. I'll give a shout out here to MJB Homes. Just joined islandprojectclub.com. We also have R. Balestra out of Canonsburg, Pennsylvania, just joined here. God bless you. I'll be reaching out to you very soon. Be looking for that email I'm going to send later this afternoon. We have Josh Kastner, 2003, just joined from Minnesota. A Para 25 just joined out of Katy, Texas. The islandprojectclub.com. I have Space Makers out of St. Paul, Minnesota. Who else do I have here? Fountain Trisha from Washington just joined. At Fave Daisy just joined islandprojectclub.com. I'll add links here and up here in just a minute as the close of this broadcast. Again, create your cash flows. Grab your surfboard, ride the wave. Learn about the new crypto picks that I just put out that I think can go 1,000x at school. Become an early bird as well as I launch the public eventual roadmap of Island Project itself, which will only be available to early birds. Ultimately, you want to get into our private placement, islandproject.com. Of course, become an owner, own the shares of the actual real estate portfolio itself. But if you can't do that, the next best thing is the club. Get in at $1,500 at islandprojectclub.com. You'll get access to the future public roadmap of that new blockchain technology, the first billionaire blockchain in the world, backed by real estate, cash flows, oceanfront, beachfront here in beautiful Maui, as well as our world-class condos. Again, I'm expecting a full panic into real assets. I've said this for some time, that basically what had happened is right now we're just kind of going through a little bit of a pause as Americans are trying to figure out what happens next after living through temporary hyperinflation, with prices going up about 3x in recent years as a result of the policies of politicians and, of course, the central banks. But once they figure it out again, that the U.S. government and the central banks and PAL is going to pivot, then they're going to continue pouring into these types of assets. So you've got to get out of the banks. Again, if you're in Lebanon, you would have been better off owning this, a real asset. You would have been better off owning anything that's real as the banks close your accounts and then confiscate, which is what they did in Lebanon. You're only getting about 85% if you're, or excuse me, you're getting the remaining of the 85% that they've taken in Lebanon. So in Lebanon, if you're at a bank, they've confiscated some 85% of all of your assets. And how you know, when you know that that's going to happen, and how you'll know here in the West is when they start charging, okay, for withdrawals. So when we get like what we had in Cyprus, where they just stole people's money in a bail-in, when that starts happening, or you hear Biden or any other president issue an executive order of capital controls where they say because we're at war with China or whoever it is, and you can't move your money outside of the system, it's got to be in the U.S. system, and you're not allowed to send it overseas, just like non-citizens are not allowed to come into the United States right now, unless you're obedient to the new rules that they've implemented. None of this is going away, guys. None of this is going to go away. Just like after that tragic event in New York, you guys remember that? Yeah, that's why when you go to the airport now, you're felt up and they touching all over your body. This stuff's never going away. Americans allowed it to happen, and not enough people said no. I did. I said no. I've stood my ground at every single thing. Have not once complied, always said no, absolutely stood my ground. Focus on finding solutions, building businesses, opportunities, creating cash flows, creating wealth for you, tuning in, building new freedom ecosystems and parallel economies outside the system. I have not complied on anything. I've done the exact opposite of everything that they've instructed and told us to do. And honestly, that's where the strategic advantage is in life. If you want to get rich, if you want to create cash flows, you want to start a new business, you want to get the girl, you want to make millions of dollars in crypto, do the exact opposite of everything society tells you. If you want to get rich and wealthy, do the opposite of what broke people are doing. Do the opposite of what your broke friends are doing. Don't have broke friends. Have friends that have higher mindsets and are actually at higher levels than you, and allow them to mentor you. Same thing in sports. You want to become a better athlete, then go put a workout in with the star athletes. Get in the arena with the Kobe Bryants of the world and get your ass kicked. That's how you get better. So I'm encouraging you guys to jump in. Also, I always just find it disappointing of how many people are going to panic buy into crypto in the coming months. Because as we're hitting new all-time highs, and by the way, I'll be launching and blockchainifying the Island Project during the next market top. So during the next market peak, once we're probably hitting about $10 trillion, we're at $1 trillion now. So we're going to 10x in total market aggregate cap. That's about the time we're going to be launching into that wave, okay, the blockchain itself and the digital tokens of the Island Project. And that's just basically sweetener on top of the sundae that I'm giving. So not only do all of our owners own the fractional shares of real estate, just like a stock, when you buy Apple stock, you own shares. When you buy Island Project private placement, you own shares. The cash flows, the capital gains, and all those, plus the call option on the crypto that I'm going to launch. So it's really three components, and you can learn more about this, of course, clicking the links below, speaking with my team, myself, my father, at islandproject.com. But like, what always I find frustrating is people are going to wait until after things have 10x'd. So we're going to watch a complete panic out of the dollar into real assets, into cryptocurrency, into blockchain, into Island Project during the next top. But you should be getting in now. As I say all the time, FOMO now, FOMO now, FOMO now, FOMO now. Get in when the bears are out, telling you that, oh, you know, Bitcoin's going to 10K. No, it's not. It's going to 100K. So again, where else do you put your money during sovereign collapse? Non-sovereign assets. Where do you put your money during hyperinflation? You put your money in assets outside of the system. Where do you put your money during capital controls? Outside of the system. Where are the Lebanese that are experiencing bank runs right now putting their money? Bitcoin and outside the system, and cryptocurrencies and blockchain. Where are governments going to move their fiat trash currency? CBDCs. So I hope you're catching on a trend here. It's not like I'm the only person saying this. It's just what they're going to do. Again, all of our society is an illusion. All of it's dictated. All of it's just set up the way that they want to set it up. There are no rules. They make the rules, just like they closed down the entire economy over the last couple of years. They do whatever they want. They could tell you tomorrow that the new currency was pigs, and you'd have to trade pigs back and forth, and Americans would do it. They could have told you that boob jobs were a healthy alternative over the last couple of years, and that every man should go get boobs. Men would have gotten boobs. Do whatever. They'll tell you what they want. People in the media and Hollywood told you that that was, you know, what boosted testosterone levels. People would do it. Anyways, I'm about an hour in. I love you guys. Hiking. I take you guys up on trails. Go lift some weights, I think, today. Yeah, anyways, guys, I love you. What's up, George? What's up, Angie? What's up, Cloud Jumper? What's up, SOS? Yeah, absolutely. Don't store your treasures on this earth. Everything is just ideas. Money's energy, capital's energy, businesses are energy, humans are energy, thinking is energy. These aren't things to hold on to. See, that's where they get you, is they get you on all these lies. They tell you things like, oh, you know, if you get the fast car or the big house or something, somehow your life's going to improve. No, if you can't be happy with nothing, then you're not happy. If you can't be happy broke, you're not happy. I don't think you should be satisfied being broke. I don't think you'll be your highest self being broke. I don't think that you'll be living your dreams and living up to the expectations that God has set out to you if you're not exercising to everything that you can, your full advantages and skill sets every day. Like if you just give up in your life, but they're not things to be worshiped. They're just energy and tools. And that really is the secret. I'll also give you another secret today too. Expect people to quit. Expect most of the people you know to give up. And the minute they do, and they'll encourage you to give up too. They'll encourage you to quit. In fact, this is what most people do. Most people you know are failures. And after they gave up on their hopes and dreams, maybe they wanted to be a singer, but they gave up on it because it was unrealistic. They'll tell you, well, no, you need to give up on your dream too because I did and I'm a failure. When you hear things like that, dig in harder and persevere even more. And realize that's your strategic advantage because you can expect most people to give up. Most of the 99%, which is why the 99% at the bottom tier, they give up on all their hopes and dreams. They fail to take risks and they fear failure. And they live in constant states of psychological pressure and fear. That's why society is obedient. That's how they control society, through fear, manipulation, and propaganda. And now the internet and AI, they've weaponized those tools to keep people at very low vibrations so that they can't get out of their own minds. Again, it's all about intention and mindset. Your mind in a single thought today can literally change your entire destiny. You have 50,000 to start with. Well, number one, I'd get into the club right now. And I would watch our recent 2 videos, if you haven't already. Schedule a call with me, and I'll help you change your absolute mindset, build from there, turn the 50K to 100, and then I'll help you take it to 1 million. And then once you take it to 1 million, try to 10x it, and then try to 10x your 10 million. Just do it for fun. I mean, what else are you gonna do? Sounds kind of fun, right? The first starting point, if you wanna make $1 million, is think about how to make $1 million. How can you find a million solutions to a million people's problems to make your first $1 million? That's how you make money. That's what commerce is. Find a solution to someone's problem. So if you can figure out a way to find a solution to somebody's problem and meet the solution with the problem and fix it, and then more importantly, if you can smartly scale it with scalability, that's how you make the real money. And then if you can scale it and not only do that, but automate it passively, that's the real secret. And then as you've built concentrated wealth, you can diversify a little bit. I do the same thing with all my own money. Concentrated positions in tech, concentrated positions in social media and e-commerce, concentrated positions in cryptocurrency, bought Bitcoin under 1,000, own hundreds of various cryptocurrencies. Concentrate, build the wealth, then diversify. What am I doing now? I'm merging and marrying both of them into real estate, taking the crypto, because I haven't historically been in real estate, and now I'm diversifying the concentrated position into real assets. And then I'm blockchainifying it with Island Project. So that's how I made all my money. Some people do it differently. But I've always concentrated my positions and then worked really hard building incremental steps of success along the way to get to the destination that I want to go. So concentrated positions build wealth. Poor people and broke people diversify. Wealthy people concentrate. And what's the best investment you can ever make? It's in yourself. And what's the best investment you can make in yourself? Your mindset and your thoughts and your intention. I encourage you, you can even study Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor. He penned a lot of, I think, isn't it called Meditations? Stoicism, different various meditations. He says things too, I'll paraphrase a bit, but like, if you're not fearful of what you're doing, if there's not a healthy sense of like fear and uncertainty, then it's probably not worth doing. Like, if you fear dying while you're doing something, that's probably a good thing, because that means you're actually doing something worthwhile. So push yourself every day to go past that part of your brain that tells you to stop. Like, for example, if there's a big wave coming in, you're on your surfboard, and you're like, I don't know, it looks kind of big. Take it. Take the wave. Even if you fail, even if you skid up on the coral reef or whatever it is and you get cut up, at least you gave it a shot. And learn what you did wrong. You're probably on the board wrong. You didn't pop up in the right way. Your feet positioning were incorrect, whatever it might be. So I would also encourage you, learn something new today. If you haven't learned something new, ask yourself this question: when's the last time you've learned something new? And if the answer is not in a long time, I encourage you to join the club. At the very least, you'll learn something new. Everything starts with a mindset shift. Plus, you get my 2 new 1000X picks. Okay, watch the most recent 2 videos, and you become an Island Project Club member, and I'm gonna send out an email to all the existing members that have not already booked phone calls, and all of our new members that register today. We have a few of you that I just saw come in, that you can book that 15, 30-minute phone call with me, so we can set it up within the next week or two, and you can ask me anything. And I'll get to as many of you as I can today. So this is all a shift into real assets. Banking collapse, capital controls, world war, China taking Taiwan, the Pacific has already been reorganized. I knew this years ago. That's why I moved to Maui. I already understood the power shift. I've already been to Asia and I've seen everything that's happened, and I've realized that they've already taken over. So I already understand where this is going. You've got to pivot into that. You have to understand where this is headed. When the British pound sterling collapsed and the US set up at the 13 colonies, it was over for the old world. Same thing's happening now. Whether we like it or not, it's been allowed to happen. And a lot of these events are biblically prophesied, and they're just, we're not going to stop them. We have to pivot into them. We have to build within them. We have to wake up as many sleepy souls as we can and save them and bring them to Jesus. So maintain the faith out there. Don't be depressed. Don't be anxious. I come out with you guys with a lot of hard truths because I want to wake you up. The whole goal is to empower you. So again, I'll leave you with this quote one more time. And again, links below. Make sure you get in to the islandprojectclub.com, islandprojectclub.com, islandprojectclub.com. Get my 1000X picks. Become an early bird. But I'll leave you with this. And thank you for sharing, liking, and sharing. I love you. God bless you. Thank you. I really appreciate that. But what I had posted earlier was this. Everything is a product of your mind. Your reality, your income, your relationships. Simply with a thought, you can will your destiny. Everything is a product of your mind. Your reality, your income, your relationships. Simply with a thought, you can will your destiny 1000X. For those of you who don't think that's true, I do it every single day. I'm living proof of this. People along my journey have always told me, Christopher, that can't be done. You can't do that. You're not allowed to do that. Don't say that. Even when I was starting in social media, people said, you can't just say what you think online and counter the mainstream media. I'm like, why not? I'll say whatever I want. And that basically built alternative media, as we've seen over the last 15, 16 years. And if you notice, whether you love me or you hate me, and hopefully you love me, I'm hoping I get more love, you'll see that I keep scaling and leveling up every single year. So every single year I go bigger. How is that possible? It's because of my mind. It's because I can create and take my mind. This is the skill set. I can take a thought and I can make it my reality. And when you realize that thoughts are energy and they're universal, and this is how you connect, interdimensionally with God, and you reach the creator and all these kinds of things. Anything is possible. You can create any reality. So for example, if you give yourself 15 days to clean your house and get it in order, I'll tell you this, it'll take you 15 days. But if you give yourself 2 hours, you'll get it done in 2 hours. So you set the limits. Your mindset sets the limits. So as your coach, you need to coach yourself. You need to realize, I should write a book on this. You're the problem will be the title of the book. 99% of all the problems out there are your own. You're the problem. You're the hiccup. You're the obstacle. It's your fears. It's your anxiety. It's your depression. Okay, it's your ill will. It's your psychology that's the problem. It's not anyone else. It's not the media's. It's not your friends. It's not your parents. It's not a broken family or any problems that you've had in your life, your dog's fault, your girlfriend's fault. It's yours. If you don't like your life, take a good, healthy, long look in the mirror and look at yourself in the mirror. Yell at yourself if you need to, and tell yourself you're not going to take it anymore. Tell yourself you're going to build yourself up and create whatever reality is that you want. Tell yourself that you're not going to settle. Tell yourself, if you've given up, I encourage you not to give up. Dust yourself off today and say what Chris is right. I wanted to do that, I'm going to do it. Get yourself up off your ass and say no. Say no to yourself. Say, no, I'm going to be great. I'm going to do everything that I wanted to do in my life. I am going to execute. All we have today is the day. Okay, so I want you to think of another reason to get in to the club. Even from the philosophical standpoint of like Marcus Aurelius, as he meditated with his book of meditations when he was, I believe, on leave for battle, would say things like this. All you have is the moment. So when you're in the moment, engage in it fully as if it was your last. So as you sit here with me, engage in this moment, engage in your thought, whatever's going on in your mind right now, and engage with it absolutely fully as if it was your last. So, and take every action in your life like that today. Change your mindset, change your life. 1000x yourself, create cash flows. If I don't know you, I can't help cash flow you. This is why you need to call me. Okay, this is why I need to speak with you, and I need you to get into the club. We can't do this alone. To build Island Project, to build our club, to build our real estate portfolio, to build these cash flows, to build the tokenized community, to decentralize ourselves around the world. This is an international company that I'm building. This is an international blockchain. It's the first billionaire blockchain in the world that represents a portfolio of assets, Island Project assets. We've got to do it together. So this really is my life's mission. It's my purpose, and I'm humbled. And find your purpose, too. Marcus Aurelius also talks about this. I've been reading some of his philosophy recently, as you can probably tell, because I'm talking about it. But he talks about this as well. We all have a purpose. So we are all being sharpened by life for a purpose, like a sword. So what is your purpose? We all have a mission. Mine's to build Island Project. Mine's to empower people. It's to teach people about new technology. It's to wake people up. It's to be the countercurrent voice in the discussion of our society. It's to tell people the truth. It's to tell them about Jesus and God and all these kinds of things. My question to you is, what is yours? Maybe it's service. Maybe it's an act of giving. Maybe it's building communities. Maybe you're a great community organizer. Maybe it's to be a politician. Maybe it's to be a businessman or a businesswoman. Maybe it's just to be a great mother and father. Whatever that might be, understand you all have a purpose. So you have to have a vision for what you actually want in life. Okay, understand you set your own standards. Nobody else does. And everything starts with the thought. So think your way to the club. Get into islandprojectclub.com. I'll change your life. I'll also help you create cash flows, and I'll help you make your first $1 million. And if you already have $1 million, I'll help you make your first 10. And if you have your first 10, I'll help you make your first 100. And if you've got your first 100, I'll help you make your first billion. You're looking at the first Christian billionaire in the blockchain space, founder and creator of islandproject.com and, of course, islandprojectclub.com. Live your dreams. Somebody's got to do it. That person should be you. I love you. God bless you. Jesus Christ is King. 1,000 freaking X to the freaking moon and beyond. I'll see you there, and I'm going to do some kind of like wellness things today. I've got a couple workouts planned. I'll probably take you along for the ride and do some just quick hit videos there to just motivate you guys, keep you on the up and up so you can get your bodies, your hearts, your minds, and your souls shredded for what we know is coming, the imminent return of our King. Anyways, guys, I love you. God bless. Jesus Christ is Lord.